Great to see you there, Kaplan. It's awesome. Glad you're here, man.
Wonderful. Great to be with you, man. Great to be with you. And I see some of the folks who've joined today. So looking forward to our discussion and dialogue on personal branding.
Yeah, we got a great group here. So for everybody, I'm Cody Horton, the managing director at Diverse Recruiting Experts. I've spent the past couple of decades helping companies with diversity recruiting strategy and hiring to build that diverse workforce. I'm thrilled today, though, to have my good friend Kaplan Mobray with us. Kaplan's an award-winning author, a motivational speaker, and a career consultant. And Kaplan's got a phenomenal book out. It's called The 10 Ks of Personal Branding, Create a Better You. And so I know you can answer any questions on that. And so Kaplan, I know you're going to share some insight today to help the people, help our audience really improve their personal brand and even help their teams with personal brand. But before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
No, it's great. Great to be with you. So, I always like to start by saying, hey, Amy, Ashlyn, I see you. Brooke, I see you. Dawn Fingers, I see you. Gabriella, I see you. Jake, I see you. Kim Ellis, I see you. Kunda, I see you. And all those that are watching and attending live, thank you so much. I think in this world of engagement, we've got to make the Zoom, the room, the thumbnail smaller, I'm as an author, speaker, and career consultant for the last, over a decade, I've helped individuals, professionals, leaders to, one, build a great personal brand, to manage their career advancement, and to really, also focus on unifying diverse workforces for teamwork and company growth. I really focus on high performance. How do you get, if you're trying to get somewhere in your life and your career, how do we get there? By shaping what you're known for and the impact that you deliver. And this is the book, The 10 Ks of Personal Branding that Cody mentioned. It actually helped people to get jobs during a tough, difficult economic recession by helping people to understand how to stand out. And I've committed my life's work now to helping people to grow. So it's an absolute pleasure to be on with you today.
No, it's great, Kaplan. And I know you've helped me a number of times just being around you with your infectious energy and positivity. It just makes the room light up. People don't get the opportunity right now to benefit from that energy that you have in the room, but they're going to get it from the Zoom. And yes. I know you got some other talents other than just motivating and sharing. And I'd love it if you'd be able to just give us a little treat.
So people, it's interesting because you think about your brand, what you're known for. People, typically will say, hey, I know this guy, he wears a green tie, and every now and then, before he starts his presentation, we may hear, a little bit of music, and all of a sudden, they're like, what's happening? What's happening? What's going to happen? And then all of a sudden what comes out is a little.
Yeah, man.
Every now and then that comes out.
That's what I love it, man.
They know me for my sax, my green tie, and I started to bring my little green gecko, my little green frog.
I love your little buddy, man.
And the story behind the green frog or the green gecko, whichever perspective, in some tribes, when you saw a green gecko or green frog enter the home, it actually was a sign of goodwill. So, I started bringing my Zoom says a sign of just goodwill. We got to bring goodwill to the Zoom. And
hey, I love it. I love it, Kaplan. And it goes with your tie, right? You've got the brand. You talk about brand, right? You've got that. That's all. That's phenomenal. Loving it.
One day it'll be called Kaplan Green, right?
That's right. That is exactly right. Oh, fantastic, man. Well, Kaplan, we're remote. We've gone through a lot last year, right? And now one of the big things that's standing out is just the virtual nature of being and the remote work and all the social distance and all the stuff that's happening there. What are some of the things that you've seen people and organizations do to help manage their careers and their brand in this virtual environment that's full of so many distractions?
I mean, the way the pace of work has changed. The level of disruption has increased, and with disruption comes oftentimes distraction and exhaustion. So you have disruption, distraction, and exhaustion, and then you have people who focus on career progression. And so, how do you know? So the big question is, how do you continue to progress your career in the midst of immense levels of distraction, disruption, and exhaustion? The reality is we're not working from home. We're actually living at work. That's I mean, that's it's the, and that's what's happening today. People are working, 3 to 6 or 7 more hours. But the key is, you're still trying to grow your career. And you had a pre-COVID brand, a pre-remote working brand. And the question is, how has this environment helped you to continue to accelerate your excellence? So that's why it's important to really focus on your personal brand and to really manage it, especially in this time of working virtually. So one of the questions that you asked is just, how do you do that now? And, Cody, what are some of the things that I find are so important? And, one of the things that I find really important as it relates to managing your personal brand is what I call engagement currency. There's engagement currency, communication frequency, and relationship quality. You kind of look at it as EC, CF, and RQ, if you want to put it into letters. And one of the things I think, Cody, you talked about, people are struggling with how to continue to grow in this environment. And, typically, you are able to network effectively walking in an office and someone sees your work and gives you a champ, they kind of, give you a shout out in a meeting in front of a senior leader. And all of a sudden they're like, hey, what's happening? And all of a sudden you get to position yourself for success based on, engagement, based on body language, based on, this warm energy of networking, and even sort of networking above, your 2 levels above and within your team. Yeah. But right now, you're a 4x6 thumbnail,
That's right.
Every single day to a screen.
That's it.
And the good thing is, it's level the playing field. So if you were an introvert, for example, and you didn't really say much in meetings when people got together, but you now, are on a Zoom, you can be as loud in the chat, and your voice can still be heard. You have what I call engagement currency. And now people know you're in the room, and the more that you communicate, the greater you focus on relationships, you can actually build a strong brand during this time.
Yeah, no, that's some great points. One of the things that we've seen is a lot of people are in transition for whatever reason this past year. What advice would you give people who are in that kind of career transition period? Because there's a ton of that happening right now. You probably experienced some yourself with just the way. I mean, you speak in front of tens of thousands of people on a regular basis, and now we got you on a thumbnail. And so, what has that transition been like for people, and any advice there?
Yeah, no. So there's a couple of things, and the one thing that people have all faced is the level of transition. A lot of my clients, I coach a lot of executives who are in career transition. So I'm gonna take that piece first. People who have either been furloughed from their job, or their job had to reduce hours, or they lost their job because of, the company just doesn't have the revenue to sustain having, so if you're in any type of career transition, this past year has been a great time to what I call, retool and upskill. So it's not just about looking for a new job, a new opportunity. It's about building new skills during this time, because this time is a chance to upskill, retool, or even, what we call a pivot, is how do you position your existing skills and leverage new skills to position yourself for new opportunities. And I think that it's an active process of career transition, but this is the time where people really have to focus on adding new skills to their existing skill set. Some people, a lot of the people that I've coached, and I during the height of the pandemic, when even myself, I couldn't be in front of a lot of audiences, I launched a resume review company where I was, literally reviewing and rebranding, hundreds of resumes for people who were facing pending transition. One of the things I find is most people haven't looked at their resume or their brand in years. And now all of a sudden they have to, and they realize, am I relevant? How do I search? What are my skills? So the first thing is to really take stock of your current transferable skills, and how those skills actually help an organization solve a particular problem. And that's so key. Cody, you talked about, transition and disruption. Most people know the job that they have or have had, but they don't position it in terms of the problems, the current problems and challenges that a company has that you can be known for solving.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. You hear people talk about lifelong learning and upskilling. I mean, you're hitting that point right on the head. One of the things that I've seen with my friends and even in my own family is people kind of retreat back into this space where they're just waiting for things to pass. I've heard you talk about being present. What do you mean by that when you say be present? And could you talk a little bit about some of the advantage of being present, and how do you actually, do that?
Yeah, I mean, some people have the mindset that, hey, if I'm only a thumbnail now, I can disappear. I can disappear. And the fact is, for many people, you're actually even more visible now. You have a even opportunity to speak up and have a voice when you in front of your senior leaders, where before it was only certain people who got to go to that meeting. And now everyone's showing up on a Zooms, or a Teams or a WebEx or a Skype or Blue Jeans or whatever, you you're using. We have to learn them all. But the point is this: you're either going to be someone who's adding value through your thumbnail working virtually, or you're going to be someone who disappears. So when I talk about presence and I talk about what I call engagement currency as it relates to your brand, you have to appeal to all the opportunities and sensibilities around engagement, because now engagement is your currency. Engagement is your brand. And what that means is, you have to choose, am I going to be on video or not? And understand that, when people see you, it automatically says you're in the game. It used to be not as big a thing, but it's a big deal now because they can remember you. They can see your name behind your thumbnail. They can at least have an input into, oh yeah, I know Cody. Oh yeah, I know Gabriella. She's great. And all of a sudden, just that little bit, because they see you or they heard you or they saw your comment in the chat. They saw you, they heard you, they saw your comment in the chat. All of a sudden, they can remember you. And when it comes time for an opportunity, they remember your brand. People remember brands that they like, they remember, that they trust, or that they have an experience where it impacted them. So if you're not showing your video in this environment and you're just a name, a silent name, you could easily disappear. And the way the technology works is, if there's multiple people on a Zoom, you are what I call, you're in the balcony. So what happens is your name gets pushed all the way to, screen roll number 4. So you're in the balcony. So they don't even see you. So being present is so important, what I call being engaged. Your currency in building your brand today is about the engagement. How do people know that you are present, that you're adding value, that you are learning and giving, but also that you are, part of this community called, sort of progress. Now the reality is this: if you are, for some people, we all have, life, life takes over. We're in this environment where people are managing, cats and dogs running through, and kids in the background, and a microwave going off, and something's falling at a time, and the Amazon delivery is coming while you're trying to do the Zoom, and there's so many things that are going on. Life happens. So if you're not on camera, create emotion around your thumbnail. So if you are someone who is Kim Ellis, I'm gonna be Kim, the kind, courageous, caring Kim Ellis. And all of a sudden it's like courageous Kim. So whenever someone sees that thumbnail, even whether your video's on or not, they see courageous Kim. You got to brand yourself based on how you want to be known. So courageous, I love with the K, and I have a shirt like that say that, courageous Kim, right? So all of a sudden it's like they see your thumbnail, oh, that's courageous Kim. So now when Kim makes a point, it's like, hey, courageous Kim is here. A superhero entered the room, the Zoom.
Yeah.
So the tip is, if you are not on video, and I advocate that you use video very intently, and you are on as much as you can, but if you're not, for some reason, you have to create emotion around your thumbnail. Let your name and your box stand for something in people's minds. Occupy some mind share. And hey, Kim, use that, Kim, because you are courageous, Kim Ellis.
I love that, Kaplan. You've got, and if anybody wants to know how to use a K, right, you've got so many terms that go with the K. I wish I would have created a slide and had some of them up here, but you definitely got some things that are part of your brand, right? And just people just know you for that.
Yes, absolutely. And so hey, Kunda, I see you. Kunda, thanks for joining. So, one of the things I think it's important is to be known for something, right? That's the key in this environment. So your engagement has to be known for something. You have to brand your engagement. Now, there are a lot of people who even just, by their very background, I know someone who, I was speaking at a company and they had a whole bunch of shoes in their background, as their background. But what they said was, I'm a creative person. I like to think on my feet. So the shoes made sense. Yeah. And it was like, hey, I'm trying to take a step up, a move forward. The shoes made sense. So even the nature of your background oftentimes can speak volumes in the ability for you to communicate your brand. And that's the level that we're in. That's the world that we're in right now, is everything matters.
Yeah. And I want to take a minute and just look to see if we have any questions in the chat. I do want to encourage everyone. This is interactive. So just take, if you've got a question, definitely put it in the chat box. We'll answer that. We'll definitely leave some time at the end, but Kaplan can field these questions as we go through this, Kaplan. And one of the questions that has come up a number of times with candidates that we place is, how can you go about using brand to really get promoted? What determines who's going to get promoted, who's going to get seen and recognized? Can you talk a little bit about that really kind of helps people grow their career?
Yeah, so I think so. Let's back up to the nature of where we're in. Many of you and many professionals, people working, had a pre-COVID brand. They were on track to be promoted, on track to grow their career, on track, to have the relationship with their boss and their mentors and champion. And all of a sudden, we had to alter the way that we connect. And for some people, they stayed on that momentum. For some people, that momentum got stalled. And for some people, the opportunity dried up, because now the fundamentals of the opportunity changed. And when you're trying to grow your career, you have to be hyper intentional about your brand. And what that means is you have to continue to tell people not only what you want to be known for, but also the impact that you're creating for the business. And I believe there are three things that are so important that prove positive for what we need to embrace today. You have to be someone who improves the result, creates a new opportunity, or shapes the future. Simply put, you have to be someone that if your name comes up, Dawn Fingers, awesome Dawn, dedicated Dawn Fingers. Are you improving the result? Are you creating a new opportunity, or are you helping us shape the future? Ashlyn Previs, are you, awesome Ashlyn? Are you, helping us improve a result? Are you helping us create new opportunities? Are you helping us shape the future? And the point is this: it comes down to relevance. Your brand is about relevance. So if you're trying to grow your career, you have to continue to stay relevant, but you also have to remind people of how you are improving a result, creating new opportunities and shaping the future. So your elevator speech it's so important in this time of growing your career. So that's one, Cody. Be your own advocate. The second thing, and please, I welcome questions that you have during our session today. But the second thing, you have to continue to expand your network. A lot of people kind of took a little networking, break during this time because they just figure, I'll just, I don't have the opportunity to socialize or network professionally as no conferences are happening. Cody, we used to go to a lot of conferences together, and
yeah. Yeah, don't let any of those stories out.
Right. We had time to network and build professional relationships that really powered our careers. We can't take time away from networking, even though we're working remotely. You have to over communicate, over relationship. What that means is, tools like LinkedIn become extremely important. Following up with someone after you support them on a call or on a Zooms is so important. Connecting people to others for opportunity is so important. Sharing information is so important. So that, those are things that people need to continue to do today to grow their career. The other thing, the last thing, and I'll turn it back to you, is just you have to ask for opportunities in this environment. People know everyone's busy, everyone's exhausted, everyone's Zoom fatigued. Everyone's working, 6 more hours. So here you come along and say, hey, listen, I'm Amy Lynn, and we've done some really great work, with our team and our organization. I see an opportunity for us to particularly take on this talent development project, and I'd like, the opportunity to help come up with our initial solution. Now, you raised your hand in the midst of people being overly fatigued, and now you create an opportunity for your brand. So yeah, so those are things that I think are very important in this day and age where we are right now.
Yeah, I really appreciate the fact that you're showing that, not to retreat, just be consistent, be persistent. What do you do with how does a person go, they've started, they think they've got a little bit of a brand, but they're not really sure, right? How do they know that their brand is actually moving in the direction that they want and they can continue to move it forward, right? This didn't happen overnight for you to have your brand. So what kind of thoughts do you have for people on that?
Yeah. So the first thing is, the first is advocating, building your brand. Two things that are very important. You have to decide what you want to be known for, and you have to commit to being consistent. I'll say that again. You have to decide for what you want to be known for, and you have to commit to being consistent. One of the hardest things for people to do in life is to be consistent at anything. A workout routine, I just, I'm gonna beginning of the year, I'm gonna meditate, I'm gonna do all these things, whatever. 7 days later from the New Year's, it's you're back to not being consistent. Consistency is the key. But if you're consistent, you can be known for something, and if you're known for something, there's new value associated with you. But if you're not consistent, you cannot be known for something. So that's one. But if you're trying to and you don't know what your brand is, the first thing is you need to get feedback. One of the most easy and subtle ways to get feedback is to ask someone to refer you or introduce you to someone else that they don't know. But I used to bring people together in my session and say, hey, I just want you to introduce this person. And whatever comes out of their mouth is what's naturally living in their sphere, in their minds about you. So that's one. But the other part is even if you're not sure what you are known for, focus more time on just being consistent on building it. Tell people, in life, one of the most powerful principles is you see what you look for. So tell people what to look for in you, and guess what? At some point, consistently, they're going to see it. I tell people, when I speak and, I speak to, thousands of people, and I come out on stage, I'm, jumping off the stage and I'm doing push-ups and, all of a sudden, Spidey comes out and all of a sudden, it's like, you are a hero today. And all of a sudden, I tell people I want to be known as one of the most energetic speakers you've ever seen. And in any room, I may get the word energy.
Yeah.
But so that way I'm not leaving it to chance. I'm telling people what to look for.
Yeah.
And it's a very powerful thing with building your brand. Don't leave it to chance. Tell people what to look for. The more you tell people what to look for in you, the more they're going to look to see it, and the more they're going to see that as your brand.
And that is awesome. That's insightful for Kaplan as well. What about you mentioned something about feedback, right? So how are you going to ask for that feedback? Even how do you give and take that feedback to be more purposeful, right? In where you're trying to go with your brand. Any thoughts and tips on that?
Yeah. So, most people struggle with two things. Most people struggle with tooting their own horn, right? Talking about themselves and their accomplishments. And then leveraging feedback to actually drive continuous improvement and growth. So one of the things that helps when you're asking for feedback is to first acknowledge what you are looking to improve. It's a subtle thing, but if you say, hey, one of the things I want to look to improve is my public speaking capabilities. Would you be willing to share with me your thoughts on this particular opening address that I'm giving as I'm looking to make sure that I'm prepared for our next board meeting? Right. That way you didn't leave it to someone to say, hey, you really need to improve your public speaking. You owned it, you claimed it, and you said, you said, I'm looking to improve. So when you think about feedback, I always meet feedback with what I call feed forward, which is, here's what I'm looking to improve. So that's why I'm looking for your feedback, or I'm welcoming your feedback. And that way, feedback can be a very confident conversation versus a vulnerable one.
Oh, that's great. That's a great one. Again, I want to encourage people that if you got questions, just put them in the chat. We can certainly take those questions. I don't see any questions in there right now, but definitely if you have a question, we'll be looking for those. One of the things that's I think is key is as leaders, because the people that are going to see this are if they're not on now, they're going to see this later. And it's how does a leader actually help their team manage their brand to ultimately manage their performance? You know, a lot of times we have people in companies and there's a calibration session, or there's a session where they're trying to figure out who's going to get the next best project. What are some of the tips that you can give a manager and a leader to help their team actually manage their brand?
So great question. And I see some coming through. Thanks, Dawn and others. So a couple of things. As a leader, you are managing a portfolio of skills. It's kind of like a conductor in an orchestra. And you have to understand that everyone's individual skill sets comes together to produce a great team result. So as a leader, you have to not only give people work to do, but you also have to help them acknowledge their skills or the skill opportunity, skills gap, you know. And I think that, you know, because when people can understand that, hey, you are extremely creative, and I know that you're trying to be, you know, a next level leader in a couple of years. So I want to give you some more strategic assignments that will allow you to have more strategy and business management, P&L management that are going to complement your creativity. That's a good leader, because a leader sees the complement to the skills that align with the goals of the individual, not just the work they give them to do. So that's, you know, so for leaders, you should know, like a conductor, you should know everyone's note. You should know, you know, the skills that people bring to your team, but also you should know how those skills align with their individual goals, their, you know, professional goals, and also what's missing. So it is, you know, it is insightful when a leader can do that, and it's very powerful and empowering for their team. But it also says, as a leader, you know, to their employee, you see them, you know, you see them. Yeah,
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 no, that's great.
yeah.
Let's get a question out of the chat. Don's got two questions. What can individuals do to start a personal brand, and how will a person know that their personal brand is good or working? Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, so it's a great question. So a couple of things. Like I said before, you know, one of the, and I talk about this in the 10Ks of personal branding. You know, you got to really decide what you want to be known for. So let's start. So Don, you think about the question. You know, if I had to ask you, what are three words that best describe the lasting impression that you want to have on someone after an encounter with you? Right, that's the question. Right. So someone meets Dawn Fingers, you know, determined Dawn, and you know she is, and you know she's extremely, you know, analytical. She is, you know, extremely creative, and she has an amazing ability to manage problems, to solve problems. So problem solver, creativity, you know, analytical. So if that's what you want to be known for, those words, and you tell people, listen, I'm you know, driven, dedicated, determined Dawn. One of the things I pride myself on is my ability to creatively solve problems with an analytical focus on driving a result. And I can help you to crunch the numbers and make some science out of it so you can make business decisions. Now you're telling people what to look for, so you know what you're known for. You're consistent, but then you got to laser that to a problem that you can be known for solving. And when in an unsolicited way, when someone says, "Hey, Don, you know, you really had a great insight on that. I really like the way that you think." Boom, it's good validation. "Hey, Don, I really like the creative way that you approach that problem." Boom, that's validation. Dawn gets it done. She solves problems. That's validation. You should hear the words that you want to be known for back about you organically. You know, kind of like Whole Foods, organically. You know, and that's validation for your brand. I know, as an example, I will get the word energy. You know, I will get the word energy in any room. And, you know, whether I told someone to look for it or not, but it's validation. But I also to tell them is I want to be known for my energy and my engagement, and, you know, and my thought leadership. So Don, so that's one way to help. And the other way, I think your question was also just around, you know, just, you know, how do you know it's working? You have to work it. You have to work it. You have to work your brand. You know, you have to be consistent. You have to show up in those particular ways. But then you're going to have an opportunity to come back, and people are going to say, "Hey, why did you hire me? You know, why did you put me on this assignment?" And they're going to reveal and to be consistent with your brand.
Yeah, no, that's great insight. Similar question from Don also is one of the big questions is Any advice for people who don't like the spotlight or are uncomfortable speaking about themselves? You touched on this, but this would be a great one.
A lot of people, let's face it, a lot of people, they don't like to toot their own horn, or they don't know, aren't comfortable with it. Sometimes, you have to brag about yourself, but you don't really want to. You don't want to seem, arrogant or off-putting to your team. You want to stay humble, and even cultural. Sometimes it's cultural. Put your head down, do the work. Someone's going to tap you, and one day you're going to get promoted. And you could be waiting a long time. And there are other people out there. People, Sierra Parks, Brooke Avila, courageous Kim Ellis, who is bringing the courage. We need someone who is courageous enough to take on this assignment. Boom, I know somebody. That's courageous Kim. And, and all she did was brand herself as, I'm courageous Kim. But you're stuck doing the work with your head down, waiting for somebody to tap you, to pick you up.
Yeah.
But they come to courageous Kim. You've got to be known for something. So if you're an introvert, or someone who doesn't necessarily like to toot your own horn, the word advice is a really key way. So here's how it works. Say Cody was my boss, and I said, hey, Cody, I'd like to get your advice. A project I worked on created $5 million of extra new revenue for the organization. I'd like to get your advice on how we could take the best practice of that particular sales process to help other parts of our company grow. Now, all I did was tell Cody how good I did. And it puts Cody in a position to say, hey, tell me more. Boom. Now I can talk about, hey, listen, there's a relationship that I had that I brought into the organization. It turned into a mutually beneficial relationship for our team. And now we've got extra revenue coming. And that leads you on the path to growth. So the word advice is a great key intersector for those who aren't really comfortable tooting their own horn, but they have to, because your success is attached to cascading success for others. So that's one. We're in this world, Cody, managing your virtual brand. So introverts are heroes in this. I mean, this has been a heaven sent for introverts.
Yeah.
For introverts, because you don't, the chat. You can be loud in the chat. You can be a loud, what I call in the book, a loud listener. And a loud listener. You can be ultra engaging in the chat, and even though you hold on to your introvert nature. Yeah. So if you're an introvert, so that's one. The other thing I would say, Don, is be an unexpected benefit. If you are an introvert and you don't necessarily like tooting your own horn, when you do things that people don't expect, give them information that they didn't ask for, but it's valuable, all of a sudden you become a necessary ingredient, an unexpected benefit, and they will come to you because you gave them an unexpected way. So you ask yourself every day, what is something that they don't expect to get from me, but I'm giving it to them? It's another way to shape your brand, especially when it's tough tuning your own horn.
Yeah, no, that's great. And that hit that question that Brooke had. Amy has a question. It's when revamping your resume to articulate your personal brand, what's the best way to do that?
So a couple of things. I think I've rebranded hundreds of resumes through a site called rehabmyresume.com. We're helping people during the pandemic. One of the things that I think is really important is a lot of people say, hey, here's what I do, right? Here's what I do. And they list a whole bunch of job duties that they had and roles that they held. But what they don't do is say, here's what I help organizations accomplish. It's very different. It's a subtle but very different thing. Here's what I do, but here's what I help organizations accomplish. So if you're saying I'm a financial analyst, that's what I do. But I help organizations to reduce expenditures and capitalize on market opportunities where they can grow, and build new revenue. Now you are attached with a problem that you help a company solve based on a need that they've identified. So when you're branding your resume, it's important early on, especially early on when you give them a summary. It's important to position yourself as, this is who I am. This is what I help organizations to achieve. Right? It's a very different thing than saying, this is who I am. This is the roles I've held. This is the jobs that I've been placed at. This is what I help organizations achieve. Companies hire you for what you help them achieve based on a need that they know that they've articulated that they have. So when you look at your resume, you have to ask yourself the question, does my resume tell an employer what I can help them achieve based on a need that they've told me in the world that they need to accomplish? That's how you rebrand your resume. So that's one. And then secondly is, we're in a world where tracking systems take over, bots take over. So 75% of resumes aren't even seen by a human. They're kicked out by a computer. So by a bot. So you have to brand your resume with the keywords that are aligned with the job description. So you look at a job description and you look at creative, strategic, leadership value, insightful, analytical, change agent. All those words have to also be embedded in your resume, and you have to have a one-to-one match, and that helps.
Yeah, that's really powerful, Kaplan. One of the things I coach people on all the time is make sure you're speaking in the language that the business understands, right? Is it the language of impact? It's the language of results, and so they can understand it. And so I think what you're saying is spot on and really helpful for the team. I love the way you kind of put it there. Sometimes people get started and they're kind of got a little bit of a brand. And I would put myself in this place, but how do you go about really kind of maximizing the performance of your brand? Because there's nobody out there who's seen your brand that wouldn't know. Energetic. I'm going to see the sacks. I'm going to see some push-ups. I'm going to see the gecko, right? You're known for that, the 10 Ks and all the language that goes around Ks. How do you kind of maximize that brand using your performance?
Yeah. So, one, I think, you have to first be good at what you do, right? So that's the key is focus on your excellence first, right? Your excellence is the calling card, if you will, for the ability to have future impact. But the second is you have to create a way to be remembered, a way to be trusted, a way to be referred, and a way to be championed. And so you think about your work, the work that you do. How are people going to remember you for the work that you do? And oftentimes they remember either the things that you did that helped them in a tough types of crisis or change, or putting out a fire, or they remember how you helped someone. But you've got to create that way to be remembered. So when I said courageous Kim Ellis, courageous Kim Ellis, and you remember courageous Kim. It plants this real estate in someone's mind. Oh, that's courageous Kim, the K on the chest, it's like, yeah, that's Kim, and all of a sudden there's emotion and imagery. And then you attach that with excellence and impact. And all of a sudden people want to champion you, and they want to refer you, and they want to refer your brand, but they also want to be aligned with your excellence, because excellence breeds excellence, and so that's one thing is create a way to be remembered, and it's not about, having to, yeah, there's bells and whistles, but it's not about just you have to be authentic. You got to be genuine and authentic, but you want people to remember you, because if they remember you, that means that your ability to help them goes up. You want to be remembered for the impact that you have. Again, what I said earlier, are you improving a result? Are you creating new opportunities, or are you shaping the future? So that's a really powerful way, is create a way to be remembered for the excellence that you deliver.
Yeah, no, and I know we didn't spend much time talking about this, Kaplan, but I know you're going to knock this one. Is a lot of times we hear people talking about resilience.
Yes.
And what might a leader or even the individual do to manage and be more resilient? Because it takes energy to get things done, and with everything that's gone on, it's hard to step up. So what advice would you have there?
Yeah, no, this is one of the most prevalent topics that I've been speaking on to organizations during this time. One is managing your virtual brand and growing your career in the midst of this type of change. But the other is the emotional resilience that it takes to continue to grow, to innovate, to lead a team effectively, and to lead a team through change. So resilience is a leadership skill. It's a leadership skill. It's not a nice to have. It is a necessity. It's a leadership skill, especially during these times. A couple of things for leaders. It's important to have what I call change agility. Change agility, and what that means is you have to look at change, but you have to focus your team on what they are seeing in the midst of change. Because if you're watching change happen, you may be missing the opportunity to continuously improve and to learn from change. So leaders, during this time, to stay resilient, the first thing is you have to celebrate the uncertainty that you face. You have to celebrate it. We don't know where the markets are going. We don't know what we're doing, but what we do know is that we are building preparedness plans. We are learning from everything that we're going through. We're doing more with less. And because of that, we're now learning how to be more efficient. So you have to have what changes, you have to have a change pivot, just like, hey, this happened, but guess what? Now it's what I learned. And here's what I'm going to do. Right here, this happened. Here's what we learned. Here's what we're going to do. And as a leader leading that type of positive energy in the midst of change, again, celebrating uncertainty, celebrating disruption, distraction, exhaustion, which leads to then your ability to be more focused on progression, you can lead a team through anything. So one of the things I advocate that leaders do is to rename your challenges. Rename your challenge. So I would say to people, drop in the chat, if you had to, when it was 2020, now we're in 2021, but I would ask people, if you had to give 2020 a name, what would it be? What name would you give it? Actually, let's do that right now. Courageous Kim, Jake, I see you're on, Kim Ellis, Kunda. If you had to drop in the chat, if you had to give this last year that we've been in, we'll call it 2020 plus, but what if you had to give it a name, what would you give it? Yeah, what would you give it? And someone said tumultuous 2020, right? Someone said yes. Oh my God. If you give it a name, right? And you think about it, trying, right?
Right. Oh, yeah. I see you out there. I see some people out there that are definitely influencers. I see you, Sierra.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, but here's the thing. So you take that name, but now what if you named, if you renamed your challenge encouraged, or, challenged, inspired, making a difference, finding something more, finding something new courage. You can rename, if you rename your challenge, you also rename the energy that you approach to managing through it.
Yeah.
As a leader, it is an opportunity for you to rename the opportunity that comes with change and challenge and uncertainty. So that's one sort of tool. I help leaders to reframe the problem, reframe the opportunity, and rename your ability to navigate through it.
Yeah, I like the reframing and just that mindset shift, right? It changes the way you're going to approach it. And in fact, one of the questions that I had for you is that came up is, what do you do? How do you manage that change? And I think that reframing is one of the things that is so critical and key.
Another thing, when I talk, and I've delivered this talk to organizations around leading change and managing through change and being emotionally resilient. And one of the most sort of powerful points is what I call OMG. When something happens, it's like, OMG, oh my gosh, it happened. Oh my gosh, this happened. COVID happened. Oh my gosh, and all of a sudden we're in a state of, oh my God, what happened? Oh my gosh, what happened? And when we're asking these questions, what happened, we're not focusing on the true meaning of OMG. And let me explain. So OMG stands for optimism, magic, and gratitude. OMG, optimism, magic, and gratitude.
I like that.
Optimism says you got to be, positively connected to the opportunity that can come from what you learned, from the circumstances. So you're positive about what can come from your circumstances, right? You're optimistic about what can come. So it's not, hey, this happened. We lost 80% of our revenue. Okay, so now that we know that, what are the positive things can come from this? We're going to learn to work more efficiently. We're going to find a new line of vendors to help us, manage our business in a more cost-effective manner. We're going to make some reductions in the way that we work to create augmentations in the way that we grow. We're going to have people now being, more flexible, and we're going to be there for our people. But what can come from the circumstance? What's the positive things? The optimism, the M in OMG, magic, is let me create something new, something unthinkable from what others may not even see or know. The fact is, yes, we are working remotely, but yes, we are also working now in a way where we can, manage the comfort of our surroundings. And if we're more comfortable, we may be more productive. If people see that you care, they actually may be more loyal, and that's why they're getting on at 10 o'clock at night on a Zoom when they don't have to, because they want to, because as a leader, you checked in on your people. You told them, hey, listen, take a break. I know, it's a snow day and your kids are working remotely. Now they have a snow day. Go build a snowman, in Texas,
That's right.
So magic says, create the unthinkable from what others may not see. And then the G, gratitude, in the OMG, gratitude says, be grateful for your challenges and for you being the opportunity and the solution to help fix it.
I think that's phenomenal. I see we have another question in the Q&A. Kunda says, how do you manage not burning out?
So I'll tell you this, you have to be physically fit to be productively fit. You have to focus on mental health and wellness, just as you focus on, revenue and reports. They go hand in hand. And it's a very real thing. People wake up and they are literally on 9, 10, 12 hours of Zooms every single day. And guess what? Saturday is no different than Tuesday, for many people, and the days run together. They don't feel differently. We used to, people say, I can't wait for Friday. Can't wait for the weekend. The weekend, Saturday feels like Tuesday, Zoom. So,
Yeah.
the point is this, you have to be intentional about mental health and wellness. And you have to embrace it as an essential skill that aligns to your performance. So if someone told you, hey, listen, you're going to do really well in your role, and I think you're going to get a great performance review, but you also have to make sure that you take care of your mental health and your wellness. You're going to do what you need to do to continue to perform at the level that you want to get the recognition that you deserve. Most people put mental health and wellness as scrapple, as an afterthought, and they separate it from their performance. And it's totally. So I didn't get to just take a break or walk today because I literally was glued to the screen. Sometimes you just need a 10-minute walk or 15-minute, but you have to, the point is you will not burn out if you make your mental health and your wellness an essential component of your performance. For me, I speak and I travel over 200, in a typical year when we're working remotely, over 200 nights a year. I give over 70, 80 talks a year to companies all over the world. But I train for my talks like a prize fighter. I run. I've been running, every single day since the pandemic, since March 17th, pretty much 3 miles, every day.
There you go.
And,
I love it.
But I train for the mental state that I want to have when it's time to perform. And when you're looking at how you not burn out, and it could be watching a show that gives you a chance to laugh. It could be reading a book. It could be, spending time, with your kid, whatever it is, walking your dog, whatever it is. Do something that is aligned to the health and wellness of your mental health and your wellness, so that gives you energy to continue to perform.
Yeah. Kaplan, I saw you speak and you said a phrase that said, live by decision, not by default. Yeah. Can you share a little bit about what that is?
Yeah. So when people get the book, or it's in, I sign that book with that quote, every book, and live life by decision, not by default. And what that means is, and this, I think this, let's face it, this time period in our life has forced us to be more aware and to be more intentional. The fact is, many people have lost people during this time. They've experienced life in a different way during this time. They've been disrupted, during this time. Holidays have changed. You haven't been able to see family members during this time. Things have been changed. And sometimes you get another day back, and sometimes you don't get the same day back as you did. What this time has taught us is to be intentional, to not let life happen to you, but to make life happen for you. It's a very different energy. Don't watch life happen to you. Make life happen for you. Live life by decision, not by default. And that way, when you decide to do something, like, hey, I'm going to work out today, because guess what? I'm going to work out today. You have 24 hours, and hour number 23 is just as important as hour number 5. But it's up to you to decide that you're going to do that, as opposed to letting the day happen and you didn't do that. So live life by decision in your career and in your life. Cody, it is about being intentional. It's about saying, this is what I want to do and accomplish. This is the effort that I'm going to put in to make it happen. This is the result I'm going to create, and I'm going to commit to making it happen.
No, that's awesome. Well, I know we're coming on time, Kaplan. This has been amazing. It's been a treat for me, and it's certainly, I know everyone's going to get some benefit out of this. I see a number of decision makers on here who are influencers in their companies who can take some of this information. We're going to have the replay available for people to share. And Kaplan, I hate to do it to you, but I'd love to, have you one, give us some final thoughts, but more importantly, we'd love to have you go out with like we came in with a little bit of performance.
I see it. Thanks, Jesse. I see you in the comments. So a couple of things. Yeah. So we'll get that all queued up right now. Let's do that right now.
I love that.
So a couple of things. So one, I think that we have to embrace this time. Right. This it's a tremendous time of time to shape your brand. It's a tremendous time of empathy. People have empathy. We know that, the things have happened and we've been disrupted, but you have to have new courage during this time. New courage for your career, new courage for your brand, new courage for how you lead your team, new courage for the innovations that you want to advance in your organizations. This time has given us, the grace to have new courage, and that new courage to be intentional about what you want to be known for is what drives an amazing, powerful result. So, decide what you want to be known for, and then be consistent to make that happen. And when you do that, amazing things happen. And so I'm gonna put this music on, Cody, and I'm gonna make sure that we get closed out the right way.
There you go.
Thank you so much. So we got Amy. I want to thank you. Ashlyn, I want to thank you. Brooke Avila, I want to thank you. Sierra Parks, I want to thank you. Dawn Fingers, I want to thank you. Jake, I want to thank you. Kim Ellis, courageous Kim Ellis, I want to thank you. Kunz, I want to thank you. Jeff, and all those that are on. So we're going to close out like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2.
I had to go.
All right.
Hey, that's fantastic, Kaplan. Hats off to you, man. Amazing information. I feel really blessed to have you here. You're an amazing speaker and a good friend, and I really thank you for coming and do this so much. Any parting words?
Listen, I just want to say thank you for all that attended. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love to continue to be a resource to you and your organizations in any way. And, go out and live the power of your personal brand. And it will make a difference in your career and give you purpose and clarity in your life. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you all. Jesse, I see you. Thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure to be with you today.
Thanks, sir. Have a good one. Take care, everybody.
Take care now. Take care.